Welcome to Round 7 of the American Le Mans Series, the Grand Prix of Texas. I'll get it right in a second, and there we get a look at the Texas sky, and it is hot, hot, hot here in Fort Worth. Challenging but beautiful weather conditions for the American Le Mans Series competitors. And take a look at that, track temperature 102 degrees. Sorry, 120, the ambient temperature 102, and in the cockpit, well, it's almost off the scale. Those are our prototype driver championship positions right now, but they're likely to change. BMW drivers heading up that field, but Audi really dominating the last couple of events. And it is Alan McNish who's done it again. The Scotsman has put the Audi on pole position from the second Audi, so it's McNish and Capello who headed up from Frank Biela and Emanuele Pirro. It's Audi's dominating again for the third time in a row. The Panos is doing everything they can with Jan Magnussen and David Brabham. They take third, and it's BMW with Bill Auberline and Jean-Marc Gounon, and the second BMW of Leto and Muller. Second Panos then of Johnny O'Connell and Hiroki Kato start in sixth spot. And the privateer Lola of Didier de Rodriguez and Mimos Ghiettarella. Another good result here for the Reynard of Guy Smith and Stefan Johansson. And their teammates, the Jim Matthews, Mark Simo pedaled car. GTS, well, we're used to seeing them right there. Olivier Barretta and Carl Wendlinger. GT pole sitter, then Dirk Muller and Lucas Slur. Again, a regular position for them as we look a little further down the field. Good to see Guy Smith for those British viewers right up there, and look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see another British representative, Johnny Molem, driving in the GT class. Haven't seen too much of him on our screens this year, but a front-running British driver in the GT class. Keep a lookout for him. Well, this is it, and that is the last couple of races. That's what we've seen. It's Audi's doing the business. It was a fantastic race at Mosport in Canada for the last round. Alan McNish and Ronaldo Capello took the victory, but they were pushed absolutely at the end, with Capello on wet weather tires, not coming in for slicks, as the changing weather conditions in Mosport meant that slicks were the way to go towards the end of the race. The BMWs, not fancy to win, nearly took the result at the end, but Audis are dominant right now, and we can see the Panos of Jan Magnussen just in behind the Audi, letting him know he's there. The BMWs, as we go to green, and we're racing here, round 7 of the American Le Mans Series in Texas. Texas Motor Speedway, a fantastic facility just near Fort Worth. High-speed banked ovals combined with a very, very tricky and demanding infield section. So good combination of corners, and we see the Panos of Jan Magnussen getting right up in behind the second-placed Audi. And that looks like Mimos Ghiettarella in the Lola, just trying to squeeze up on the inside of one of the BMWs. So action aplenty right on the first lap here. And he gets that, it's a BMW coming by the Lola. Well, we saw oil flags out there, and it looks like one of the Panos, second-place Panos, I think, of Johnny O'Connell, that squeezes by Mimos Ghiettarella starting off in that Lola. Yes, it is. So O'Connell puts the Lola just down one place. Ghiettarella just coming under the hairpin before they go on to the back straight. Tries to take the place back. Well, we saw oil flags out there. I don't think it was literally on the starting lap. And the track is just extremely, extremely slippery. They're saying not as there just dust and stones and things on the track, but the Americans put it big rocks from time to time on the circuit. So until the circuit gets cleaned up a little bit as this race progresses, right now the opening laps, the drivers are saying that the track is extremely slippery. So that is our race leader from pole position, Alan McNish, in the Audi, taking a quick look in his mirrors as he goes on to the infield section. Well, McNish really has been the prime peddler of the Audi team. Well, a very, very strong driver lineup, but McNish seems to be able to pull those fastest laps out of the bag. Partnered very capably by Ronaldo Capello, great win they took at Mosport under so much pressure. And they were dominant in the previous race, the Grand Prix of Sonoma at Sears Point in California, which we also, of course, brought you here on Eurosport. And right now, McNish leads in the opening laps at the Texas Motor Speedway. Well, conditions extremely hot, as you saw on the graphic at the start of the race. Ambient temperature extremely high, and even though this race, as you can see, run into the night as the sun starts to set already, the temperature in these cars is extremely high. Now it's a little bit less of a problem for the prototype open top cars, because they naturally have some air coming through the cockpit. Although the cockpits are designed, the car is very, very slippery. Actually, the air doesn't get into the cockpit very much, but just naturally they are a little bit cooler than the enclosed GTS and GT cars. But throughout qualifying and practice here, the drivers really have been suffering with very, very hot conditions. So right now the Audis just have started to pull away. Long way to go. 2 hour and 45-minute race. The big battle up front between the Audis, but I tell you, if they trip each other up or make the slightest mistake, the Panos will be right behind them. Well, that is Ron Fellows in the Corvette, our first look at the GT cars. GTS, I should say, and that has been dominated this year by the Viper team. But the Ron Fellows, Andy Pilgrim pedaled Corvette, as you can see there, look at the points differences there. Those are all Vipers, and the top 4 drivers are all Vipers. And they really have been dominating. But at Mosport, these guys so nearly took a win. We had a fantastic race finish in the prototype class, and Andy Pilgrim and Ron Fellows were pedaling this car at Mosport as well, and so nearly, they did lead for a while, so nearly took that race victory from the Viper. Can they do it in Texas? Well, again, extremely hot in those GTS cars. Those have been the cars, the GTs and the GTSs, that have been suffering the most with very, very high cockpit temperatures. Drivers actually wearing cool suits, which is a kind of a vest they put on underneath their suit, runs cool liquid through to help keep the driver's body temperature down, and they've actually had some problems with those in practice where they've malfunctioned and actually heated up, I believe. And that is absolutely what they don't want. Cool suit designed to keep the body temperature down to a reasonable level so that the drivers can perform, and almost all of the drivers in the GT and GTS class will be wearing those cool suits to keep themselves in the right kind of condition to run around here. Well, that's the starting driver in the second qualifying Panos. That is Emanuele Pirro. As we go on board the Panos now of Jan Magnussen, take a look at the very impressive steering wheel cockpit display. LED, as you see the Panos prototype just fly around the outside of one of the GT Porsches. As we go on, enjoy the onboard action here. The vast grandstands of Texas Motor Speedways, they come through the chicane, not using the full banking at full speed. GT prototype racing, you know, all about road style racing as opposed to full oval racing, which they host here at Texas, as the Panos squeezes up the inside of another car going into the infield section. And the drivers have been praising the track, saying it's quite a challenging, tight and twisty on the infield section, but nicely laid out, good combination of corners. The only problem seeming to be some dust on the track, and the track is very, very slippery when they first run there. Dirk Muller leading in the GT class. Our first look at the GT Porsche. And again, extremely hot inside those cars. Dirk Muller partnered by Lucas Luhr, both of those down as Monaco residents. GT class leader right now, 14th overall. 16 seconds right now in front of the winner of the last round, which was the Mosport round, which was the Alex Job Racing entry. Again, on board here with Dirk Muller, taking a look at the track from a GT perspective. Look at the G-force up to nearly 2 Gs of cornering force as he goes through the chicane. Getting up to around about 150 miles an hour. And you can see there's a GTS car coming around the outside. That is the speed difference. And there's the BMW. So those are the 3 different classes right there. GT Porsche just ahead of GTS Viper, and just ahead of that, the prototype BMW. You can see the speed differences there as the lights start to glare, and that is JJ Leto, I think, in the 42 BMW, just trying to squeeze up the inside, and he manages to get through. And that is the difficulty for particularly the GT cars. The prototype cars only really ever have to worry about what's ahead of them. They are going faster than everybody else. And if they're a front-running car, there's nothing that's really going to be coming by them at any kind of speed whatsoever. Whereas if you're in a GTS car, or certainly a GT car, you can be the fastest driver in that car by a long way, and you will still have GTS and prototype cars which will come flying by. So a difficult job for the GT and GTS drivers, who are doing their utmost to drive those cars on the absolute limit in an endurance race, and they have to keep one eye on the track and one eye on the mirrors. But right now, this driver only has to keep an eye on what's ahead of him, which is clear track. Nobody's coming by him right now. Alan McNish leads at Texas. Going through that chicane. We had a look on the inside of the Panos before. We saw the LED display on the steering wheel. See a slightly different backlit dash on the Audi. Now this is the Team Raffinelli Lola Judd, driven by Mimo Schiatarella. Very beautifully prepared Olive Gardens sponsored car. Get a nice high view there, and actually you should get a nice view of that chicane. See how tight it is going through there. Especially when there's a bunch of cars coming together, really have to funnel down into that chicane. Partnered here by Didier de Rodriguez. I'll get my pronunciation sorted out eventually today. Both of these drivers also down as Monaco residents. Well paid, this motor racing stuff. And this car really is there challenging the factory entries. Hasn't had a lot of luck of late. The Raffinelli and Lola Judd. Well, after 1 hour of racing, it is Alan McNish who leads. Emanuele Pero. Jan Magnussen in 3rd place for Panos. Jan-Marc Gounon for BMW. JJ Leto for BMW. And Johnny O'Connell for Panos, rounding out the top 6. But McNish right now controls this race, as we see him go by the Lola Judd, past the main grandstands at Texas Motor Speedway, where the crowd is contained. And right now, Audi are dominating at Texas. Long way to go. As night falls, join us for more action from Texas Motor Speedway. Night falls, we see the brake disc glow of the leading Audi. And we are experiencing pit stops for the leaders. The leading number 77 Audi is still out there as Emanuele Pirro comes in for fuel, stays in the car. No driver change, but tires and fuel for the 2nd place Audi. That's the number 1 Panos leaving the pits. They took on tires, fuel, and made a driver change. David Brabham taking over from Jan Magnussen. Now this is our leader in the pits. Now drivers have been suffering very, very much, as we've been saying, from the heat, but Alan McNish staying in that car, taking on the much needed liquid refreshment. Very, very fit driver, extremely professional, extremely fast, very, very focused on his racing. And I'm sure that's one of the many reasons why Toyota have hired him for their Formula One program starting next year. But right now his job is with Audi as he heads back out, staying in the lead of this race. Later on, that car will be taken over by his teammate. As we look at the BMW of JJ Leto also staying in the car, fuel going on board. And Carl Wendlinger and Olivier Beretta, number 91 Viper. So Wendlinger hands over to Beretta. Austrian flag on the side of the Austrian driver's helmet as he helps Olivier Beretta get himself comfortable and positioned correctly in that car. But Alan McNish has come in, quick stop, takes a drink, gets some fuel, bang, out there, absolutely dominating this race. Full minute now between him and the number 78 Audi in second place of Emanuele Pirro. So right now, Audi's dominating. That is Bill Aberlane, now in 6th position in the BMW. Well, we understand he had some contact with one of the GT Porsches. Don't know exactly who it was, but not a good run for the 40. There it is. Oh, that doesn't look very nice at all. Just again, this is Texas Motor Speedway has a very, very unique, what they call Musco lighting system around the banking. You can see that in the background there. It really is a very, very expensive, very advanced lighting system up on the main banking, but the difference on the infield is there's practically no lighting at all. Of course, the drivers have headlights, but there is a vast difference between the light they enjoy out on the banking and the darkness they're plunged into as they go into the infield section. Now that is David Murray, partner to British driver Johnny Mollem in the number 70 Porsche, and you can see that they are doing everything they can to keep that driver as cool as possible. The heat is absolutely astronomical here. They're talking about temperatures of nearly 200 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside of some of these GT and GT Porsches. So quite simply, they're putting very, very ice cold towels and water and trying to get those drivers' body temperature down as low as they possibly can, well, to get it down to a temperature where the driver can function properly. And the drivers are even talking about having to hold their breath for a period of time when they're out on the track, even though we're in nighttime here. Because it's so hot, the air inside the car is so hot that they find it difficult to take a full breath. That is how demanding it is. Well, it's 1 hour and 47 minutes of racing, and we have a full course yellow flag. And you can see why. Number 15, Dick Barber Racing, GT Porsche. Small fire at the back of that car has brought out a full course yellow. So after so much hard work, getting a very, very long lead, Alan McNish has now had that lead chopped down to absolutely nothing. Still leads the race, of course, but the field will be bunching up behind him as he follows around the pace car Corvette. As we go on board here with a third placed Panos of David Brabham. And we can see that Musco lighting system uses mirrors to reflect the light so that there isn't as much glare as you would normally associate with artificial lighting. So out on the track, from a driver's perspective, the banking is very, very well lit and the infield section is very, very dark. So taking advantage of the full course yellow, we have the leader coming into the pits, and it is finally now that Alan McNish hands over to Ronaldo Capello as he did in Mosport, as he did at the Grand Prix of Sonoma at Sears Point Raceway. Emanuele Pirro also makes room for Frank Biela, the German driver, helps him to get into the cockpit, the very tight confines of a prototype cockpit. Alan McDish has done his work now. As the crew go to work, fresh tires, fuel. Now this is a pressure situation for Ronaldo Capello, as it was at Mosport and as at Sears Point. Alan McNish is just so fast in that car that he goes out and wham, puts the car into a massive lead quite often. And then Capello really has a lot of pressure to say, right, I've got to go out and continue, get this car to the end of the race, and really wants to try and keep the lead as much as he possibly can. But tremendous pressure for the Italian driver to continue out at the front as Panos goes out. A little bit of problem in the confines of the pit there. Tire getting in the way, and that is our leading GTS car. I tell you, they nearly won at Mosport, but the Vipers came through victorious again. We listen to the beautiful throaty growl of that Corvette. Right now they're leading. So Andy Pilgrim, British-born driver, makes his home now in Florida, is the GTS leader. Well, that tells us we're not just in Texas, but those are some markings, and it looks like the number 43 BMW has made some kind of contact with the wall, and they're coming in for fuel and driver change, and also, well, actually they've come in, excuse me, for fuel and driver change, and also had the nose of that car changed. I don't know exactly what the nature of the incident that was. So before the restart, as we still are under yellow, it is Capello, Biela, Magnussen in our top three. Things still hot here in Texas. Join us after the break. Well, as we left you, we were behind the pace car. We continue behind the pace car here, round 7 of the American Le Mans Series at Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth in Texas. Audi still lead, but their lead has been chopped down to nothing as we're about to go to green due to yellow flag incidents. And the Panos of Jan Magnussen flies around the outside. At the restart, he gets right up in behind the leading Audi. He is actually 1 lap behind. Oh, getting so close to a GT Porsche. He's actually a lap down, running in 3rd position, but right in front of him is our race leader, the number 77 Audi, driven now by Ronaldo Capello. Going on to the infield section, take a look at the onboard data information. Lateral G-force, that's the amount of cornering force at the top of your screen. Speed on the left-hand side. Accelerator and braking indicators on the right-hand side. You can see him just on the power, easing off the power, just playing with the throttle through the series of corners. As you see, as he goes round the corners, the G-forces increase up to about 1.8, 1.9 Gs. And then as he comes out of the corner, lateral G-force decreases, but speed increases tightly around this hairpin, get up to about 1.8 Gs. Then lateral G-force will go and acceleration increases. Well, right now we have an Audi sandwich, or we have a Panos sandwich with an Audi in the middle, and that is the number 2 Panos ahead, actually running down the field, driven by Hiroki Kato. The number 2 Panos, our leading Ronaldo Capello pedaled Audi, and Jan Magnussen in 3rd place in the 2nd Panos, the 3rd car in our picture. Well, Kato, we understand, has actually as the Panos just tries to squeeze up the inside of the Audi, as he actually gets balked a little bit by Kato. And the information we have is that Hiroki Kato actually came out of the pits too early during the caution period and has been penalized 1 lap by the sports car officials. So heading up to 2 hours of racing now. Darkness on the infield section at Texas. It's a Panos at the head of this group. Audi in second place, but Audi leading the race. There you are. Ronaldo Capello leads from Frank Villa. Jan Magnussen third place in the Panos, who we're on board with now. Jörg Muller and Jean-Marc Gounon in fourth and fifth place for BMW. So that is Jörg Muller in the pits, and it looks like he has had some kind of problem. Look at the left rear of that car. And some kind of contact with, we understand, the number 70 GT Porsche. Now, I don't know who's driving that car right now, but that is pedaled by Britain Johnny Molem. Saw earlier his partner, David Murray, in the pits, getting cooled down, suffering from the intense heat on the inside of the GT cars. But we understand that it is the number 70 car that came together with the prototype BMW we're looking at now. No driver change though. Muller stays on board. They're putting tires and fuel into that car and doing what they can to make sure that is safe to go back out on the track. And then we just see the tail end of it. That is Jörg Muller just spinning the car, doing a spin turn. He's got one front headlight out. Looks like his rear tail light is all askew. And that's not wheel spin smoke. I don't think that is bodywork, carbon fiber rubbing on the tire. So they're putting the fuel in, done what they can to repair the damage. Obviously feel that it's okay to continue. Well, similar circuit to this, a banked speedway with an infield section was won by BMW earlier in the year, the Grand Prix of Charlotte at the Lowe's Motor Speedway. But right now it's all about Audi. There we are. Capello leads. Teammate Bila in second place. Panos are in third. Nice to see that Reynard there just outside the top six. The Guy Smith, Stefan Johansson pedaled car. And then our leading GTS runner, British-born driver Andy Pilgrim in the Corvette leading the Vipers. Vipers struggling at the moment. Looks like Corvette may take a very, very memorable win in Texas. The snake gets bitten in Texas, and that is the 62 Viper. Excuse me, the number 92 Viper. Stopped at turn number 5, and here you get a perfect picture of the full lighting on the banking there at the top of your screen and how dark it is on the infield section. And that is a stranded Viper. Not a good day for the Viper team right now. So dominant. That is Hughes de Chonac, who heads up the Viper team. And that is likely to bring out the pace car if that car stays where it is. We're looking at the number 91 Viper. And yes, we have a pace car situation. So right now, Olivier Beretta is second in class in the 91 car, 9th overall, but it is the Corvette that's leading. And this was the situation at the last round at Mosport, but the Viper came through. Great race that Wendlinger had with the Corvette, driven by Andy Pilgrim as it is right now. So that is Jean-Marc Gounon, takes on fuel, no driver change. As these drivers take advantage of the yellow flag to come in for fuel. Frank Villa, fuel only again, no driver change, he stays in that car. Now we understand that the other Audi is having some kind of radio communication problems, and they are having difficulty talking to Ronaldo Capello. As we see Frank Villa heading out back on the track, the number 78. Audi with the red rear wing and red body sections. Now this is our GTS leader, number 3 Corvette. Now this is actually being handed over now to Ron Fellows, Canadian driver, takes over from the expat Brit Andy Pilgrim. Now they really, really have worked hard to get a victory, and they want to take a victory here, and they deserve it really, coming so close at Mosport. I mean, Viper have been so dominant, and deservingly so, but it would be great to see a non-Viper win, if you can put it that way. Great to see that Corvette get victory. American-built car, of course, and as the Viper is, which is just such a well-known sports car name in the US. Be great for the interest in this level of motorsport in the United States if a name like Corvette is winning. Right now, leading overall, that is Ronaldo Capello. So 40 minutes to go in this race. Ronaldo Capello behind the pace car as we go to green. Now as they come down on the chicane, look at this. This is really, really difficult for the drivers. As they get up to full speed, they then have to slow right down through that very, very tight chicane. So right now, Ronaldo Capello was given a big lead by Alan McNish. Pace car incidents mean that lead has come down to not too much now from the second Audi. So Audi's battling it out. And as they go into the infield section, that is our leading GT car, Lucas Luhr. So as we look at the Vipers on the infield sections here, Viper being chased by the prototype BMW. Superior acceleration of the prototype car, just drives right by. Oh, that Viper gets very, very close to that BMW on the brakes. Not what you'd expect for a GTS car, and that is Lucas Luhr, the number 5, leading GT Porsche, which has spun. Lucas Luhr, some kind of contact there at turn number 7, we think. So the GT leader has a problem. And you can't get, and it looks like that front left wheel, he's sustained some kind of damage. And here it is, that is Lucas Luhr and a Viper. And that is the number 1 Viper. And I don't know what happened there, because it would be unusual for the GT car to be getting up the inside of the GTS Viper. And Dirk Muller's just not very happy at all. And looks like Lucas Luhr is having to, yeah, he's got a flat tire, right rear. Well, welcome back to Texas, and things are changing here, I can tell you. They are having difficulty. Well, they cannot speak to that man there, Ronaldo Capello, who is leading this race. Now, during the last caution period, they were desperate to try and get Capello into the pits to take fuel on board. They could not speak to him. I don't know why pit signaling won't work, but Ronaldo Capello needs to come in for fuel, and they have not been able to get him in. As we take a look at Randy Popes, the GT leader, 11th overall, the big action is up at front, because there was a big lead. Alan McNish handed that car over with a big lead, but they need to come in for fuel. And unless there is another caution period, that will cost them the lead, more than likely. So if he has to stop under green, things are going to change dramatically. And one Audi could overtake the other to change the lead in this race. Well, that's Carl Wendlinger we saw there leaving the pits, second in GT class, GTS class. And it looks like the Corvette may do it this time around. So disappointment for the Viper team. They have had a little bit of bad luck, but you need luck as well as being very, very quick, and all the factors emerge. We go on board with Ron Fellows in that Corvette 8th overall, but most importantly, on the right of your screen, first in class. They are going to be absolutely ecstatic. Now, they have been suffering very, very much. As we look at that leading Audi, just trying to get up the inside of the BMW, you can see the difficulty in these dark conditions. And again, I must stress to you that the temperature in these cars, even at night, as Capello shakes a fist at that BMW. Well, very difficult for the GT drivers. Well, we have our man down in the pits with Alan McNish.
Now to watch this, you saw a big lead evaporate with the caution period, and then the radio communication has gone away, Alan, so Ronaldo didn't pit. Can you still win this if he can pull it out a little bit?
Well, we need about 26 seconds to do it. He's got 21 plus at the moment. He's driving very, very fast, very well, good in traffic. And I think, to be honest, he deserves it, but I'm a little bit biased. It's very frustrating when you work like hell to build up the lead and it goes through no fault of your own. But with losing the radio communication, it certainly has made it very difficult for us.
When will he have to pit, Alan? Do you know how much gas is left in the car?
No, I don't. That's the trouble. It's a bit of sort of wait and see what happens right now. It's a very horrible situation to be in from here, but it must be pretty hell for him.
The gap is now down to 18.5 seconds, guys, so he's got his work cut out.
Well, that confirms it there. Alan McNish, you know, looking relatively calm and relaxed, but a very difficult situation, as he explained, out of his hands. But it looks like that Capello does not have enough of a lead to come in, get fuel, get back out of the pits, and stay in the lead. So very major disappointment as we take a look at the Corvette and the Viper. But that Viper is not that close in the overall race. 92 Viper is out of the race, and the 91 that we saw there is 3 laps behind. So Ronaldo Capello still leads. Oh, and that's Hiroki Kato suffering a problem, just running out wide in the Panos. Kato, who had a 1 lap penalty given to him earlier for an infringement during the caution period. So it's 15 minutes to go of the race, 2 hours and 45 minutes of racing. Alan McNish in the number 77 Audi led this race. He handed over the race lead to Ronaldo Capello. Second place was the Emanuele Frank Bila pedaled Audi. But due to a lack of radio communication, some problem with the pit to car radio, they could not tell Ronaldo Capello to come into the pits during the caution period. Now he will not come in of his own accord. He has to, the tactics are done from the pit lane, and he did the right thing in staying out until he's told to come in. But that has been a major disaster for Audi in terms of Capello and McNish. Anyway, looks like they're still going to win this race unless something else goes wrong, but it's going to be a different car winning. This is a replay. Just look at the left-hand side of the screen there. We see Frank Bila, second place Audi, avoiding going around the outside of the chicane to avoid contact with a GT car. So Audi lead this. Panos then, and BMW just really not on the pace. Second overall then is Frank Bila. But there is not much time left to run in this race, and Ronaldo Capello is going to have to come in for fuel. So Frank Bila is just waiting to pounce. He really doesn't even need to push that hard. About an 18-second gap now between the two cars, and it takes roughly 40-odd seconds to come in the pits, get fuel, and get out again, as we see the brake discs glow red as the German squeezes the brakes on hard, coming off the high-speed banked section, going into the twisty confines of the infield section at Texas Motor Speedway, just waiting to take over the lead of this race from his teammates. The Alan McNish, Ronaldo Capello, number 77 car. Right now, Capello behind the wheel. Bila behind the wheel of the second placed Audi. The race is all between these two Audis. So now we have 9 minutes before the end of the race, and that is Ronaldo Capello. Major disappointment, 17-second lead. He comes into the pits, and you could just tell, I don't know how you can tell body language by a way a driver, just looking at the driver's helmet, but he is just not happy, just tapping the side of his helmet, saying, I couldn't hear you. I don't know what's going on. I'm just driving as fast as I can, leading the race. And that's really out of the driver's hands. So, new leader will be Frank Bila. We get a nice shot of the fully lit banking and the slightly darker infield section of Texas Motor Speedway. Fantastic facility here, which runs IndyCar races and NASCAR races to vast crowds, as well as American Le Mans Series sports car racing. So there it is. That is now the second place Audi, after leading so much of this race. Having to go in for a late fuel stop, radio communications meant the car did not come in at the right time, and that is our new race leader. Similar looking car, but with the red body flashes as opposed to yellow on the number 77 car. That is now the leader, Frank Bila. First overall, as the graphic confirms. Well, I'm sure the bosses at Audi don't mind which car wins, but you can be sure that the pit crews, the mechanics, the engineers, and the drivers of each of these cars absolutely wants to take victory. If they can't win, they want their fellow team car to win. But disappointment for the Capello and McNish crew. Well, that is Jean-Marc Gounon in the number 43 BMW running in fourth, and really BMW have just not had the pace here in Texas. We suspected that was the case from Mosport, but they so nearly took victory in the changing weather conditions. Ronaldo Capello held on very, very bravely at the end as he was chased down, but BMW really not challenging at all. So BMW just running around, indicators flashing and everything. And this is Canadian driver Ron Fellows, suffering dramatically in the heat. All the GT and GTS drivers have been. And there he is, he's British-born driver, makes his home in Florida. He's looking just a little bit tentative, but great to see a British driver, British-born Andy Pilgrim, doing well, racing sports cars over in the United States. And he is just sitting there with fingers, toes, everything crossed. Can't sit still, talk to somebody. Is the car okay? Is he saying anything? Oh my gosh, I wish I was behind the wheel, is what he's really thinking. He'd much rather be out there than sat in the pit lane. It is going to be a great victory for the Corvette if they can just keep going. So just about 2 minutes of this race left. Frank Biela leads for Audi. There you are, it's an Audi 1-2. Then Panos, couple of BMWs, the second Panos. Randy Pope's their leading GT class in the Porsche. 14.5-second lead now Biela has over Capello. As we look at the number 3 Corvette, driven by Ron Fellows, they were so concerned about the heat in these cars that they had another British driver, Justin Bell, standing by to possibly come in as a third driver. They haven't actually used him. It's just been Andy Pilgrim and Ron Fellows. That's the number 23 Randy Pope's car. Alex Job Racing took that memorable win at Mosport. First win of the year for them, and it looks like they're going to take 2 in a row. 11th overall, first in the GT class. There it is. That is going to be a good win for the Alex Job crew. They won last year at Mosport, won again this year at Mosport, but this will be their first win, their second win in a row, and their first win at Texas as the overall race leader. Frank Biela slides up the inside of the GT class race leader. As we're coming towards the end of this, Frank Biela looking to take the white flag. The white flag, of course, in American motor racing signifying 1 lap to go. So Frank Biela just has to get round for 1 more lap, as do the rest of the field, to complete round 7 of the American Le Mans Series. Audi, who have been dominant here throughout, and really has just been a battle overall between the 2 cars. Alan McNish, again, it must be said, really looking like the most complete package in terms of overall speed and consistency. As a driver, just put that car on pole position, pulled out his traditional big lead. I tell you what, there's not much difference between him and the rest of his teammates. Without arguing, there's none at all. But he does seem to be able to get the lead and get the car out in front. But mere tenths, hundreds of seconds separate these drivers. And if they have the slightest problem, then the second place car is ready to pounce, as it's done here. So Frank Biela took over this car from Emanuele Pirro, and he comes up to take victory. at round number 7 of the American Le Mans Series. A victory again for Audi. So as he slows down and the Audi team celebrate, GTS class, it's going to be a historic win for Corvette. Andy Pilgrim is extremely happy, looking a lot less nervous than he was a few moments ago. As out onto the banking for the final time goes Ron Fellows. That front engine car has been so hot inside. I know I've been talking about this, but they really, really have been suffering. And with the engine in the front, all the heat from the engine coming back into the cockpit area, and a very, very well-earned victory. And he's pretty excited about that. As the Viper gets bitten by Corvette in Texas. And another happy crew we'll see in a moment. GT winner Randy Pobst takes victory in Texas. Second win in a row. And we have our man with Frank Biela.
Yeah, I mean, we were always very close, and of course after 2 stints the gap was quite big, but the team, I have to say, the pit crew did a perfect job, perfect timing, and that's why we won the race, for sure.
Well, that confirms it, and that's what it is. In motor racing, you need fast, consistent drivers, you need good pit crew, and a very, very good race car under you. Well, it was tight at the finish, and it was a victory we didn't expect, really. But Audi are really stamping their authority. Great to see a different GTS winner of the Corvette. And good to see the Alex Job crew winning in GT again. So you can see the next round live tonight on Eurosport from Portland in Oregon. Right now, it's Rob Murphy saying thanks for watching.